Okay, so it just hit 12:30, so I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to be really mindful of your guys' time. I know everyone has lots of things to do, but I wanted to just share a little bit about the new features that we now have access to since we are now Google Enterprise for Education. So a lot of it's going to be on Google Meet, but I'm going to talk a little bit about like things that are embedded within Google Meet as well. So with Google Meet, I'm just going to share my entire screen. So that way, as we're kind of looking at the different features, you can see from my perspective, which is going to be the host or the teacher's perspective. And then you can also see from the student perspective, because you guys are joining like students would join. So in order to see all of these features, you have to be the host of the Meet. So to be the host, you have to be the first one in to Google Meet if you're using the classroom link. Or like this event was created in Google Calendar. And so since I created the event within Google Calendar, that automatically made me the host when I joined. So you can tell if you're the host, if you're like, how do I know if I'm the host or not? Down at the bottom of my screen, I have this blue shield with a lock in it. That means I'm the host. So I have host controls within this Google Meet, which means I can mute someone, I can remove someone from the meeting. And so those are some nice controls. You can also turn on the feature where you have to let students into a Google Meet. So before we look at the activities within Google Meet, I just want to show a couple new things. So down, if I click on the three dots, that gives me more options within Google Meet. One of the options is to blur your background. So if you want to blur your background, so like I have this picture of Einstein behind me. And so if I wanted to blur my background so that you couldn't see that, I can just turn on background blur. Now I do want to give you a warning that if you blur your background, it will slow your computer down. So if you have a lot of things that you want to do with your computer, you have tabs open for Google Slides and you have Google Meet open, you have your email open, background blur will make your computer run much slower than usual, and it might cause a lag in Google Meet. So just keep that in mind when you're using background blur. And then the other thing that's relatively new is adding this digital whiteboard. So Google has something called Jamboard, and it's essentially a digital whiteboard that you can have students collaborate on during class. So if I click on Open a Jam, it's going to start a Jamboard. So if I click on Open a Jam, I can start a new whiteboard. So when I hit Start a New Whiteboard, it's going to create this Jamboard. Now, if you click on the link in the chat, it's probably going to be view only for you. So as the teacher, I would have to go in and I need to change so that instead of just viewing this Jamboard, I want you guys all to be able to edit the Jamboard. So I can make everyone an editor by updating the sharing preferences. And once I hit done, if you refresh and you click on that Jamboard link that's in the chat, you can now draw on this. You can add pictures. You can add sticky notes. And so this would be useful once we look at breakout rooms. You could have each breakout room doing something on a different Jamboard. So Jamboard is something that's cool. You can change the colors, add text boxes. Some people asked about a picture this morning. So you could add an image if you want to draw on an image. Just keep in mind you're drawing with your mouse, so it might be a little more difficult. But this is something that could be useful as you're encouraging students collaborating with one another. So I'm going to close out of this for now. So the next thing, and really the most important thing that I want to look at are the activities that are now built into Google Meet. So up at the top, as a teacher and a student, you have the three shapes up at the top. So you should see a triangle, a square, and a circle. When I click on these shapes, this opens the activities panel in Google Meet. This is new just to Google Enterprise. So breakout rooms we'll look at in a second. You also now have the ability to poll students, and you have the ability to turn on a question and answer panel. So if I want to turn on question and answer, this is a separate place that students can ask questions, or that students can give comments and they can upvote these comments. So I'm going to turn on Q&A. Now, in order for you as a student to see the Q&A, you have to click on the 3 shapes up at the top, and you have to click on Q&A. So you have to kind of guide your students through the first time, especially if they're not sure where things are. And so from the teacher perspective, as you guys start asking questions, they will show up over here in the Q&A panel. And if you have the same question as someone else, you can hit the thumbs up. And so as a teacher, I can see that there was a question that has 10 thumbs up. That means that a lot of students might have that question. I can go in and I can answer questions. So now, to me, that's not much different than the chat. My students utilize the chat a lot within Google Meet. But this is just a place where you can then, as the teacher, go in and you can say, I know I've answered that question. If I don't look at the chat for a few minutes and the kids start talking to each other, I might not see the questions that some of them had. Another thing that I really liked, I used yesterday with my students, is the polling. So I started a couple polls with my students yesterday. Now, this could be a poll on how do you feel about this topic, or it could be a question like a check for understanding. So for the polls, you can open up the Google Meet beforehand and you can type in different questions that you might have, but your polls will not save from one Google Meet to another. So it's going to start from essentially nothing at the beginning of each Google Meet. So yesterday I asked a question that was, how do you feel about this topic? So I was teaching Hess's Law yesterday. I did some examples, and then I pushed out a poll and I said, how do you feel about this topic? And it said, good, not too sure. And then I think I said, like, please help. So I saved it at the beginning of class. I wasn't ready to push it out at the beginning of class. So I just typed it at the beginning and I left it there. After we went through examples and I was ready to push this question out, you just hit launch. And once you hit launch, hopefully you guys on the student end can see the poll. And so again, if you want to see it on the student end, you have the people, the chat, and you have the 3 shapes. You'll click on the 3 shapes and you should hit polls. And hopefully you see that and you can start, so you can start answering that question. And so you can leave it open the entire time. You can end the poll after a certain amount of time. So it could be something like, how do you feel? I could ask a chemistry related question and I could push it out, see how much they do understand, and if I need to go back and I need to reteach or not. And you could continue to create multiple polls. So it's not just one at a time. I could have 4 or 5 different questions on here that I just hit launch when I'm ready for it to go out to students. So the Q&A and the polls are 2 new features, but the one that I'm most excited to share with you are the breakout rooms. So before I was using breakout rooms in Google Meet, I was making my own breakout room setup where I had to create a Google Meet for each breakout room. So I was creating a separate link, sending out a Google slide that had 6 different Google Meet links on it. Now you can create breakout rooms within Google Meet. And all you have to do is you click on breakout rooms. So again, this is from the teacher perspective. If you click on breakout rooms, it's just going to say your host can move you into breakout rooms. So from the teacher perspective, you can choose how many rooms you want. So if you have a bigger class and maybe you want groups of 3 or 4, you could do 6 rooms. One of my classes, 1/2 of the class is 8 students. So yesterday I had 3 breakout rooms. Now, as I change the number of rooms, it's changing who's in the breakout rooms. So if I want 5 people in each breakout room, I'll do 5 rooms. If you hit shuffle, that shuffles the order of everyone in the breakout room. Or I could manually move people from one breakout room to another. So you can randomize the breakout rooms, or you can pick each breakout room. You can move the students how you want them in the room. Now, if you want to move the students, the easiest thing that I found when I was using this yesterday is that I just cleared the breakout room. So I just hit the clear button and it brought everyone's name into the main room. And then what I could do is I could just drag and drop into the breakout rooms. But if you don't mind who works with who, you just hit shuffle. It leaves me in the main room as the teacher, and it puts all of you into separate breakout rooms. You can also rename the breakout rooms, and this is more for the teacher side, so that if I know that those students in breakout room, I want to answer question 1 on this practice that we're doing. I want breakout room 2 to answer question 2. I can rename that as the teacher, so that's what I see for the breakout rooms. So before I hit create, I just want to give you a little bit more information on what this is going to look like and how as a teacher you can join different rooms and how to end it. So once I hit create, it's going to send all of you into your separate breakout rooms. So I'm going to hit create. It's going to send you guys all into your breakout rooms. It's going to give you a little yellow announcement banner up at the top. It's going to say you've been invited to this breakout room. You just hit the button and you go to the breakout room. As a teacher, once I hit create, I'm going to have a button next to breakout room 1 that's going to say join. I'll have a button next to breakout room 2 that will say join. So as the teacher, I can go from the main room to breakout room 1, see if breakout room 1 has any questions. And then I can go right into breakout room 2. So on my screen, I'll have breakout room 1, but I'll also have the panel over here that I can join different breakout rooms. So I can see what questions do you have, how's it going? And as a student, you will have the ability to leave your breakout room and only go back into the main room. So yesterday I was working with my students in different breakout rooms. I went into breakout room number 1. They said they were okay, didn't have any questions. So I started going into different breakout rooms. Well, then they realized that they had a question. So they sent one of the students back into the main room to tell me that they had a question. I was able to then go back into their breakout room, answer their questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you guys to the breakout room so that you can see what it looks like from the student end. Then I'll end the breakout rooms and I'll bring you guys back in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. It should send you guys to your breakout rooms, and then I'll end them and I'll bring you back. So it might take a little bit to send everyone to the breakout rooms. Now we have everyone in the breakout rooms. So everyone is in the breakout rooms. I have the ability to hit join for each breakout room. And then once I'm done, I can end the breakout rooms. So I can hit end. It's going to pull everyone back into the main room. So it should bring, there we go, bring everyone back to the main room. So it might take a little bit to have everyone go into the breakout rooms, and it might take a little bit to pull everyone back. And I know that was a very short amount of time to send you to the breakout rooms and to bring you back in. But that's just kind of what it's going to look like on the student perspective. So on the teacher perspective, I just watched everyone leave the main room, and over here in the teacher panel, it would just spin next to your name until you got into the breakout room. Then I could tell that you were in the breakout room. And so to end it, once you join or once you start the breakout rooms, you have an end button up here. It says end breakout rooms. You hit end, and then it brings everyone back to the main room. So breakout rooms are a really, really good way to have students working in small groups, and you can still jump into each individual breakout room and see how students are doing, make sure that they're staying on task, see what questions that they have. Now, there were a couple things that I wish we could do with breakout rooms that we cannot yet. So for example, if I wanted to let everyone know, hey, I'm going to bring you back in 5 minutes, I have to go into each breakout room individually and type in their chat. I cannot just send a chat to the main room and have it break out into each room. So that's one thing that I wish we could do. We don't yet have that capability. I'm hoping that Google might push that out. But if you want to tell every breakout room something as a teacher, you're going to have to go into each breakout room and let them know. So those were the new activities. I'm going to see if there were any. Okay, so no questions. So like I said, breakout rooms are probably what I was most excited about because it's an easy way to have students collaborating. After the meet has ended, so another really awesome thing that we get is the meeting data. So after a Google Meet, you're going to get an email that's going to say meeting data from, so this was from session 1 this morning, so it actually had a title. It might just be all of the numbers and letters for your Google Meet, but it's going to have your data. So this morning, I sent out some polls, and then I also had some questions. So there were some teachers that asked questions. You get sent the polls that you asked along with who chose what. You get sent the questions that were asked, and then you also get sent the attendance. So there is no additional extensions needed now for taking attendance or for breakout rooms. Everything gets sent to you automatically. So if I take a look at these Google Sheets, so here was the attendance report. So I had the attendance sent to me. It's sent as a CSV file. So what I did is I just clicked on the CSV file and I chose open with Google Sheets. And so I was sent the attendance report. And so you can see who joined your meet, how long they were in your meet, what time they joined, and what time they left. So this is going to be a great way now to take attendance for who was there. Now, you're not going to be able to take attendance for first period until the end of first period, but you still have a way to take attendance. So another thing that you get sent are the questions or the polls that you submitted. So I had some questions here. You know, some people asked about Google Meet, mute button, how, you know, what happens if you're not the host. And so I was able to get a list of all of the questions from the Google Meet as well. So after the Google Meet, after we end this Google Meet today, I'm going to get another email that's going to say meeting data, and it's going to have the attendance for the meet today, the poll that I pushed out, and then any questions that were asked as well, because the chat only saves if you record the Google Meet. If you're not recording a Google Meet, the chat will not be saved. So the Q&A, it's nice to have those questions that were asked as well. And then still to come, so we still have the hand raising feature. So there's a hand raising feature that is supposed to come out soon within Enterprise. So that means that students can actually click a button that raises their hand. So in the corner of their video, we should see a hand raised. Virtual backgrounds are supposed to be an option soon as well. So right now we just have the option to blur our background, but virtual backgrounds are supposed to be coming out. I know there were some people asking, how can I get different backgrounds within Google Meet? Right now you'd have to add an extension or something else, but hopefully that gets pushed out soon as well. And then finally, they're also pushing out something within Google Meet that will have noise cancellation. So if there is a lot of noise behind you, you have a dog barking, it's going to cancel out extra noise as well. And like always, Google loves when you send feedback to them. And so if you actually, when you click on the 3 buttons down in the right-hand corner in Google Meet, there's a report a problem or troubleshooting and help. If you actually report something to Google, they do read everything that teachers submit. So if you have feedback for them, whether it's Google Meet, Google Classroom, you can submit feedback and they read through it. So hopefully if teachers are submitting feedback, that's how we got the blurred background, is that teachers said, hey, like I need something to block everything behind me. So they released the blurred background. So that's actually all I have. I didn't see any other questions that were asked in the chat. Does anybody have any? I know it was very quick, but I just wanted to be able to share all of this. And I know everybody's very busy, so I was trying to keep it brief. But are there any other questions on using breakout rooms or the Q&A or the polling feature, anything within Meet? No, this is all automatic. So this is all within Google Meet now. So there are no extra extensions that need to be added. There's no, like nothing else needs to be downloaded. This is all within Google Meet. So every Google Meet now that you do, you will get an email after that will have meeting data. So each day after first period, you'll get an email with the data from first period. After second period, you'll get that email with the attendance from second period. So no matter what, you'll get that because this is all built in now that we're enterprise. So I don't know that answer. So when I record, can I see everything going on in each breakout room? I don't know the answer to that yet. My guess would be no. My guess would be we can only see what's in the main room. I will see once I have this recording because I put you guys into breakout rooms, but my guess is that it's probably just the main room that was recorded. But I'll let you know for sure if we can see the breakout rooms. Yeah. Is Meet still restricted to PT users? So as of right now, I believe yes. That is something that is through the kind of behind the scenes part of Google, so more of the security features. So Google Meet is Google for education. So it's enterprise for education. So it's just within like the education domains. My guess would be if we need to invite parents and students, you're better off using Hangouts. So Hangouts are going to be more for like individual, and Hangouts can be between like PT and out of domain. But I'll email Jason that question because we were actually talking about who can create meets this afternoon. And so I'll ask him the question about if you can have parents join your meet. Google Meet yesterday, I did not get an email with who attended the meeting. So for the attendance purpose, you have to be the host. You don't have to record, but you have to be the host, which means if another teacher set up the Google Meet, they would have received the email. Or if you weren't the first one in the meet, you may have not received the email. So for all of these features to work, you have to make sure that you're the host. So to know that you're the host, you see the blue shield down at the bottom of the bar next to like muting and ending the call. You guys probably do not see the blue bar or the blue shield because I have it. I'm the host of this. So in order to be the host, you need to either be using a Google Meet from a calendar invitation, or if you're using a Google Classroom link, you have to be the first one in Google Classroom or into that Google Meet. So you have to make sure that you are the host to have all of these capabilities. But you do not have to record. I did not record the Meet this morning, and I still got the email with all of the Google Meet data. Other questions? And I'll stay on to answer questions if you have them, like maybe more specific questions. But thank you guys for taking time to, look at the new features in Google Meet. And if you think of any other questions that you have, I can answer those questions. Attendance works for an entire Google Meet. Even if you don't use breakout rooms, you'll still get the attendance report. So attendance is just for the Google Meet in general, not just for the breakout room. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you guys for coming. I'll stay on to answer any other questions that you guys might have. But as always, you can send me an email if you think of any other questions.